It's a Tuesday night, so you know what that means. It's time to discuss all things Quinnipiac sports. Welcome back to Studio 125. I'm your host, Matt Mugno. Alongside me, I have Dylan Summer and Santino Maoni. I'm feeling good about tonight. How about you guys?
I'm feeling great. I'm ready for a lot of good debates tonight with you, Tino.
I'm ready for some great topics. We got men's and women's soccer, hockey, volleyball. I'm ready to get into it.
Let's get into it, boys. After the Bobcats lost to Niagara 2-3, should they enter panic mode as the season comes to an end? Dylan, what are your thoughts?
To simply put this, yes. The Bobcats have dropped their past two MAC contests, and now they actually rank 9th in terms of the conference. Against the Niagara Purple Eagles, they were leading 2-1 by the end of the first half, and by the second half, they already lost that lead in the 73rd minute. So they are getting way too relaxed, and they are paying the price for it by letting these other teams just take advantage of them.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely panic time for the Bobcats. Coming off now 2 straight losses against Iona and Niagara. They have a game coming up against the defending MAC champions in Monmouth, and they are currently 5-0 in MAC play. They're first in the conference currently, and like you said, we're 9th in the conference. We're just outside the playoff picture for the tournament. And I feel like Coach DeCosta is a little bit to blame here because he keeps trying to shift the lineup this late in the season with only 4 games left. I feel like it's impossible for these players to build any chemistry because, you know, the Bobcats, they can't gel, they can't play together well right now, and I think a large part of that is on Coach DeCosta.
Exactly.
Valid points all around. What do you think is the reason for the 2-game loss streak?
I'll start this one off, Dylan. Like I said in the prior question, it kind of, you know, both my answers kind of mingle together here with these 2 questions. Coach DeCosta is to blame. Again, like I said, his constant need right now towards the end of the season to shift the lineup, to, you know, try to see what's working. This isn't, you know, like the time to be figuring it out, the time to be trying new things. This is the time to have your set lineup and to be building chemistry and gaining momentum going into the MAC tournament. You're going the complete opposite direction. You're trying to figure things out. You're losing momentum. Like I said, going into a big game against the #1 team in the MAC, and they just don't look good right now, and I think a huge part of that has to be put on the coach.
I think another thing also is the lack of communication on defense. I mean, their goalie, Andreas Hadji-Gabriel, can only do so much for this team. And as you see in that Niagara game, Jedrick Dahlman just pretty much sprinted past their whole entire defense, giving Hadji-Gabriel no chance at all. And going off of that, with those 2 MAC matchups, they allowed 3 goals in the game.
Yeah, part of where I see this, honestly, is that yes, it could be on the players because they're not executing. Like you said, the defense might not be playing their best right now. But again, that's in large part due to the fact that they can't build chemistry and they're not getting comfortable with the rest of the guys that are on the field. Because again, DeCosta, I feel like, is screwing the Bobcats' chemistry up. And I think you have to put most of the blame on him.
So it's miscommunication all around then.
I guess, yeah.
Now to the women's side. Where the Bobcats are currently seated in the MAC, they would face Rider in the MAC quarterfinals. Santino, do you think this is a preview of that quarterfinal matchup?
Matt, like you said, the way the standings are at this moment, Rider and Quinnipiac would be facing off in the quarterfinals. Do I think it's going to remain this way and that it's going to happen? No, I do not. As you see on your screen right now, Rider is ranked 7th in the MAC and Quinnipiac is ranked 3rd. I think the Quinnipiac Bobcats really could win out the rest of their season in their last 3 games, and I think Rider has the potential to lose their last 2 games going into their next 2. And I really think that if Quinnipiac wins, obviously it wins out, and Rider loses their next 2 games, Rider's going to fall out of that 7th spot, and Quinnipiac could jump up to as high as #2. So I don't think this matchup is going to happen.
I'm going to take a different approach to this, and I'm going to say this Wednesday's game is going to be the preview of the MAC quarterfinals game, and that's against Iona. Iona's been on a 3-game winning streak and have been finding their rhythm at the exact right time. They have a sneaky good roster, and they have 10 different goal scorers on this team. Rider has been going in the opposite direction as they just lost to the Niagara Purple Eagles. So for the Bobcats, they need to push for that 2 seed against Iona, Rider, and Fairfield, and I think they could be able to do that And I think it'll be Iona once again being the 7th seed, Bobcats being the 2 seed.
Dylan, I will say when I was doing my research and prepping for the show, I did look at Iona as a potential matchup, and I did think that they have a better shot than Rider, like you said, because of the momentum they have going right now for them, and the fact that Rider, is not playing as well as them right now.
Well, we'll see where the chips lie. Now let's take a look at the court. Without Maggie Baker on the court this year, last game, the Bobcats were still able to get the dub against Manhattan, 3-0. Dylan, why do you think they were able to come back in this set?
Let me just make this clear. Players stepped up in Maggie Baker's absence. No Baker, no problem. Senior Nicole Legg had 12 kills on the day, and Chloe Katanui had 22 assists, and Ariana Diaz even had 8 digs. But the main reason for their dominant victory is that they never gave up, and as volleyball beat reporter Gage Kilborn would say, they're the comeback kids. They can go and overcome anything. And even when they were trailing, they fought back and found a way to beat the Manhattan Jaspers.
I mean, you said it all. Honestly, giving the stats from, again, like you said, Legg had led the team in 12 kills. I really think I was impressed with this because, again, like you said, Maggie Baker, or like everyone's been saying, Maggie Baker leads the team in kills. And without her, that's a huge loss to not have your player that leads you in kills. And like you said, for those players to step up and really show their stick-to-itiveness and their fight to win these sets, I was very impressed with the Bobcats, and I really do commend them for being able to fight without their best player and pull this one out.
Valid points all around. Now it's time for our first break. Don't go anywhere as we discuss all things men's and women's ice hockey.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. It's here. It's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. What? My. Oh.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a unique mix of all kinds of things.
Come on, Jules, spot on this last one. There it is. Keep going with it. Leo.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made home ownership happen. Homeschooling yourself on loans, beefing up your credit score.
So I'm pre-approved.
You were like, yes! Sorry. Color coding listings, ticking boxes, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. Home sweet home. You aced house hunting. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
I know what you're thinking. I need a job.
I need a new career.
Well, I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. I wasn't happy with what I was doing.
After high school, I didn't have a plan.
I just wanted to start working.
I got laid off twice, but you gotta keep going.
You just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a 2-year IT program.
I found a medical course online.
I'm now a consultant in the tech space.
You have more options than you think. You can do this.
You will find something.
You will find something new.
Welcome back. Cass Turner, head coach of women's ice hockey, says ethic is their driving force heading into ECAC play. Let's take a look at that clip.
They want to win. They want to win, and they're resilient. And, last spring we talked a lot about just that ability to come back because we didn't feel that throughout our games last year. And, I think it's something that they're pretty actively working to accomplish. I think we'd love to go up so we don't have to come back, but it's a game, and if the other team scores, it doesn't mean it's over. It means you got an opportunity to come back, and I think they're really working on that mentality and that resiliency.
Dylan, do you think work ethic is the only driving force the Bobcats need to play in the ECAC?
I have to agree with Cass Turner here. Their work ethic will be the driving force as they get into ECAC hockey play. Their work ethic is super crucial when it comes to comeback victories. And if you saw from the Providence games this past weekend, they definitely demonstrated that with Taylor House getting 2 game-tying goals. And then guess what? She gets ECAC Hockey Player of the Week.
Yeah, I disagree with you here, Dylan. Work ethic is obviously important, and this is no disrespect to Cass Turner because she's obviously a great coach. She has the Bobcats at 6-0-2 right now. But I think this is just kind of, that typical interview of a coach coming out here and, just trying to hype her team up and saying, work ethic is what's going to get us through. I really don't think that's really going to be the driving force because you can have all the work ethic you want. But if they aren't producing quality shots on net, and if they aren't converting what they need to be converting in those games, I really don't know if just work ethic can be the only driving force holding them up in ECAC play.
Well, you also got to think about their aggression throughout both those contests and how you have to be so aggressive against such a competitive ECAC conference with Princeton, Colgate, Cornell, and Clarkson all forces to be reckoned with. So they have to show aggressive and work ethic if they want to even get to the next level.
Their next 2 games are against Brown and Yale, which will be some tough competition. So I think that we'll really see whether it's, because in my opinion, I think it's going to be more Cass Turner's ability to coach her team and to help them win, and it's going to be, again, they're getting quality shots on net. So in my end-all point, I think, again, work ethic is going to be important, but we're going to see, I think, against Brown and Yale, what's going to come forth more, whether it's going to be getting quality shots and Cass Turner's ability to coach them, or it's going to be, their work ethic and practice and so on and so forth.
Well, the Bobcats have 2 tough opponents ahead, and they're currently sitting at 6-0-2. How can they turn those 2 ties into 2 wins against the upper echelon of ranked opponents?
Dylan, I'll start this one off. Like I, again, mentioned in my previous answer, they have 2 tough games coming up against Brown and Yale. Providence is a high-ranked team, and like you had said with their work ethic and everything, I was very impressed with how they performed against a high-ranked Providence team. They tied, both games ended up being a tie, but you see, they had a good amount of saves, they were getting shots on goal, and this happened last week when Ethan and Ben were actually on the show. One of the questions was referring to quality over quantity shots. And you see they didn't take a ton of shots, but they got quality shots if you watch the games. So I think in order to turn it around and turn those 2 ties that they had into wins against Brown and Yale, they need to continue to do what they were doing, get quality shots on net. And I think, again, like I said in the previous question, it's going to come down to Cass Turner and her ability to rally her players.
You have to remember, though, special teams is a crucial part to hockey. It's not just shots on goal and their shots throughout this game. Their special teams this year has not been the best, as they allowed Providence to score on the power play 2 times in that game. And guess what? That was the decider in that matchup. And if they stopped one of them, that could have been their game.
It could have been their game to win. I see what you're saying, though, about special teams. There's more than one aspect, obviously, to hockey, to any sport in general, defense and offense. You got to be able to stop the team. I just think, listen, Brown and Yale, I don't believe are ranked as high as Providence is. Those were 2 very tough matchups, back-to-back, playing that kind of high-level team. So I think we'll see them perform well against Brown and Yale.
Well, now you also have to think about those other teams we just talked about, like Colgate. They're a team where you have to convert on the opportunities because right now they're 4 for 30 on the power play. That's not going to do much in the long run.
I see what you're saying. We'll see what happens, though. It'll be interesting.
Carpe diem, seize the opportunity. Well, let's switch over to the men's team. Santino, the Bobcats don't usually face teams like North Dakota, but this year their season openers against the Fighting Hawks. What are your expectations for this game?
So my expectations, I'm going to start off by saying the Bobcats right now, they're 2-0-1. They have 2 decent wins against Northeastern and Vermont. Northeastern was ranked 18 at the time, I believe, when the Bobcats beat them. And they tied with a top-ranked Boston College team. So what I'm expecting for the home opener, I'm really looking for Yaniv Peretz to really come out and show that he deserves this starting job. Obviously, he's replacing Keith Petrozelli, who was an unbelievable goalkeeper for the Bobcats in his time here. And right now, as a team, North Dakota, they've taken 116 total shots, and they've made 17 of them. That means they've made 14% of their shots. So I think Peretz can have a good day against them, seeing as though North Dakota doesn't convert a ton of their shots.
But I'm going to bring you back in time for a little bit. Last time that they played North Dakota was no other than the national championship game, where they lost 5-1 in Tampa Bay. And I understand that these are different teams and all, but at the same time, Quinnipiac has not faced this type of competition since they faced number 5 Minnesota State in the tournament last year. They haven't had a matchup as big as this. And this is the first time this year where they're facing a higher ranked seed. So the difference is going to be shown through the statistics as well. Bobcats only have 2.3 goals per game this year. Whereas you look at Fighting Hawks, they double it with 4.3 goals per game. And also, Bobcats are 0 for 10 on the power play. And if you look at the Fighting Hawks, they're 3 for 14. So we could try to look for an upset, but it's going to be very hard for them to accomplish.
It's going to be hard for them to upset them. But again, I think with Yaniv Peretz, I think again he can be the driving force that might get them over the hump this weekend.
Speaking of goaltenders, since Keith Petruzzelli's departure, the Bobcats' starting job is wide open. Dylan, who secures the starting job, Peretz or St. Cyr?
For me, it has to be the graduate transfer from Notre Dame, Dylan St. Cyr. And it's not just because we share the same name. It is because the experience that he has, where Perez does not. While at Notre Dame, he played a total of 34 games. He had 11 wins and 597 saves and 92.1 save percentage. Whereas Peretz from last year only played 2 games and made 9 saves. Coach Rand Pecknold brought St. Cyr through the transfer portal for a reason. And that was because he wanted to get younger players to learn from the experienced player. And you saw that last week against Vermont when he got 14 saves and he shut them out completely. So for me, the experience chops anything else, and you got to roll with him, even with the North Dakota game coming up.
I agree with you. Experience can trump all in certain situations. But for me, the starting spot has to go to sophomore Yaniv Peretz. First off, he's younger. Like you mentioned, St. Cyr is obviously older than him. He's younger, and to me, I look at that as meaning he has a higher ceiling. He has a lot more to improve upon, but he has a much higher ceiling, and I think he can become better than what St. Cyr was at Notre Dame. In my opinion, not my opinion, based on the stats, he has allowed 2 goals in the 2 games he played against Boston College and Northeastern. That's 2 games against 2 ranked opponents. The game St. Cyr played in was against Vermont. He didn't allow any goals. Yes, like you mentioned, had, I believe, 14 saves, you said. But St. Cyr was playing against, I think, Vermont, which was lower level competition than Northeastern and Boston College. So based on Peretz's performance in those 2 games and what I said about him being younger and the higher ceiling, I would go with Peretz based on what I've seen so far in Quinnipiac's first 3 games.
You also got to remember, they haven't played anyone from the ECAC as of yet. And Pecknold is really just trying to see what Peretz is made of, because he didn't get much playing time last year. St. Cyr sort of coming back from an injury. It's all going to depend on the time.
I think right now, the last thing, what we're seeing from Peretz, how you were saying that the coach is just trying to test Peretz and see what he's made of. I think Peretz has proven 100% what he's made of, because he's, again, like I said, only allowed 2 goals against 2 high-ranked level competition, whereas, again, the game St. Cyr played in, Vermont, he is a veteran. He has more experience than Peretz, but he played lower-level competition, and the way Peretz held his own against those 2 teams, I would say, you start him against North Dakota on Friday.
Question for you, though. Would you rather have a veteran or someone that hasn't played any competition like North Dakota before this Friday?
It's a tough question to answer because, again, you want experience. But in my opinion, again, I'm going off of what I've seen so far, the high-level competition Peretz has played. Not someone like North Dakota, you're right, or like Minnesota State, somebody of that stature, but playing against somebody like Boston College, they're decently ranked. Northeastern was top 20, and he held his own. So I'm going with Peretz for Friday.
We shall see who ends up taking over in net. Now it's time to take our final break of the night, but don't go anywhere as we discuss the QBSN Game of the Week and, of course, Final Roars.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
So what do you guys have expectation-wise for women's hockey?
I'll start this one off, Dylan, real quick. So, I mean, they're going on to a 13-day break, and I don't think it's really going to hurt them that much. I have good expectations for them going forward. They've already played 8 games, and even though they did have a good rhythm going, this break, will give them time to reassess what happened against Providence. And I do think that, they're 6-0-2 right now. Going forward, I think I have good expectations for what women's hockey is going to be able to do.
I do as well, but at the same time, they have to go against all those ECAC opponents that we just talked about with Clarkson and Colgate. So it's a long trench ahead of them, but with the talent that they have, they could probably get it done.
Yeah, ECAC is tough competition, like you said. And I think, people were questioning that I talked to, that they were questioning whether this 13 break was going to hurt the hockey team. I think the Bobcats are really going to benefit, like I said, because they're going to be able to reassess what happened in the Providence game, and I think it's going to be good for them.
Well, now it's time for the Quinnipiac Game of the Week. This week in Quinnipiac sports, the skating Bobcats faced off against Providence, tying both games Friday and Saturday. Friday, the Friars led the game 1-0 through the middle of the third period. The Bobcats were not going down easy when Taylor House tied the game 1-1. Nice goal by House there. She is dominating this season so far. The Friars jumped to 2-1 with only 10 minutes left in regulation. Courtney Vorster tied the game 2-2. No team was able to score in a 5-minute 3v3 overtime, calling it a tie on Saturday. On Saturday, the Bobcats and Friars once again faced off. Star player Taylor House scored the one and only goal of the second period. This was House's second goal of the weekend. And netminder Courtney Corinne had a total of 32 saves. The Bobcats faced Brown Friday, the 29th in Providence, Rhode Island. Now it's time for Final Roars. Dylan, take it away.
Quinnipiac's women's soccer coach, Dave Clark, recently got his 200th career win after defeating the Canisius Golden Griffins 3-0. Clark is now in his 22nd season with the Bobcats and has solidified himself as one of the premier college coaches in the NCAA's highest division. This past season, he led the Bobcats to the MAC semifinal round against the Monmouth Hawks, and in 2019, his team earned 10 wins in the season, which was the most since 2016. And now, looking back at this year, the Bobcats already sit at a 10-3 record and 5-2 conference record. Not to mention the fact that they are undefeated when they are at home. In addition, Clark's impact to this team has not only been shown on the field, but also off the field. He has done a great job with recruiting and building team chemistry. He has found players throughout the world like sophomore forward Rebecca Cook and senior midfielder Selena Salas. Both players are having a breakout year as each are already over 20 points on the year. Coach Dave Clark has been a leading contributor and presence in the women's soccer program and for some time now, and we can't wait to see him achieve his next milestone.
Men's hockey is kicking into high gear, and I think that Yaniv Peretz is the most important aspect of this team. And he will be the driving force of this Bobcats team. I believe he is going to be the deciding factor as to whether the Bobcats have a successful season or not. A lot of people have been comparing Peretz to Petrozelli, and I don't think anybody should be comparing him to Petrozelli. It is nearly impossible to fill his shoes. However, if Peretz can be even half of what Petrozelli was for the Bobcats, they will have an extremely, extremely successful year.
Yeah, I like that take, Santino. I really do. I think Petrozelli is going to be hard shoes to fill. But if I'm going to throw my 2 cents in on the men's hockey goalie debate, I think the cage will belong to St. Cyr because of his track record. His .921 save percentage against formidable Notre Dame and his 2017 U18 gold medal run as a starter means he can dominate at each level that he takes on. He can dominate at the next level of play. His ability to handle the puck also adds a dimension to his game and a dimension for the team to build upon. With the men's ice hockey opener this weekend, we've seen major players shine in their senior season, such as recently graduated Odin Tufto and Keith Petrozelli, as we mentioned, both up for the Hobey Baker last year. Wyatt Bongiovanni is going to take the major step this season and lead the way to a season of success. He missed 3 months last season due to injury, but managed to put up nearly a point per game. He scored 15 goals his freshman year and sophomore year as well. If Bongiovanni continues his uptrend in goal scoring with support from a world-class player like Ty Smolonic, he has Hobey Baker potential this season. The Quinnipiac Bobcats certainly have plenty of work and excitement coming up in the following weeks. To stay up to date on all of our content and all things Quinnipiac sports, be sure to check out our website at q30tv.com. Also, follow us on Twitter at Q30Sports. From the producers, everyone behind the scenes, to my analysts, Dylan and Santino, what a great job by them tonight, and myself, your host, Matthew Mugno, we thank you for watching. See you next week.